Yeah, so I watched CNN till the news came out again, and on the third repeat, I thought I'd better go to sleep. Oh, they are. Especially if they're in a situation where they're desperate for news.
Oh, that's better.
Why have we got pens? Is there a quiz?
Because they're going to ask questions. We have to take a test first. But I guess we have...
good morning. I want to announce our first press conference of Starness, the first one with musicians, with great musicians, and I'm mostly honored to have here musicians who support science, because, you know, this is a science communication festival. It's science and arts festival, actually. But the component of art, and especially music, is super important for Starness, because we believe that we badly need support from arts community to bring science to public. And right from the first festival, we had this message very clear with the co-founder of Starness, with Dr. Brian May, whose personality is this fusion of science and music and arts. He actually grew up with both things. And he said that he never knew if he had to choose between science and music, and then back to science, and again all the time. So so finally we decided to create this amazing festival. And since then we had a great number of musicians, well-known musicians, who joined Starness, who supported Starness philosophy and idea. And I know this number is growing, and especially now in Armenia, we have our guests. Some of them already know Starness. They have joined Starness in the past. I think Derek Sherinian has joined Starness in Norway, right? And Trondheim. And I will present one. And I know that Rick Wakeman also joined 3 editions of Starness. And what is more important, Rick Wakeman wrote a piece music called Starness, which is an astonishing musical composition. We're so honored to have him here in Armenia. This festival, this edition of Starness, is full of music. We start with a special concert by Tigran Hamasyan, who will join us by Zoom, and then Derek Sherinian with Simon Phillips and Brick will open the concert of Tigran. And next day we have Stephen Hawking Medal Ceremony and the Sonic Universe concert with Serge Dhanikian, with Rick Wakeman, with Sons of Apollo, Tigran. It's a very, very interesting concert. It's different types of music. We fuse everything. We as I always say, that we're trying to cook Spanish paella, and with all ingredients, putting the right amount of pepper and salt and herbs to have it very, very rich. So this is one more Starness paella. Will be Monday, and then we'll continue with another concert on Wednesday, led by Brian May. Again, with many guest musicians, opening by one of top Armenian bands, Nemra, with Jivan Gasparian Jr., doing with Armenian Duke, a small tribute to Jivan Gasparian. And then we'll continue with the Star Party, so it's all sorts of with Cebu, with No Sound. It's a great festival, amazing program. And so first I want to ask Derek Shrinian to say a couple of words. You may know Derek from his previous visits to Armenia. He's been here a couple of times. The first time I invited Derek when we were doing a tribute to Jivan Gasparian. I think it was Jivan's 80 years anniversary. So Derek was here with Planet X. Yeah. Right? And since then, that was your first trip. Yeah. He's been here many times already. I don't know. I don't remember how many. We did with Glenn Hughes, with Dorian in Artsakh, exactly. So, please, Derek.
Hello, everyone. It's an honor to be here in Armenia again at the Starness. Thank you, Gary, for bringing us all here. And we're very excited to perform. It's awesome to meet Serge. And I have to say, it's a big thrill for me to one of my heroes as a keyboard player growing up was Mr. Rick Wakeman, so to be here with him is a big honor for me. Thank you, sir.
You're very kind, thank you.
Very awesome. And Simon Phillips, a great friend of mine and collaborator for 20 years, legendary drummer. It's just a great honor to be here with all these great musicians, and just very happy.
Thank you, Derek. Thank you very much, Derek Chan. So, and we have everyone in Armenia knows Serge Թանկյանի, not in Armenia only. So, but I think it's the first time Serge is joining a science and arts festival. So the message here is we are all just going to talk about science and arts and nothing else, because I always say these are the most important things on this planet, actually, so arts and science. So, Serge, what do you think, please?
It's an honor to be here. Hello, Barevses, Fonsek. It's an honor to be here with the Starness Festival. Garik and I have been communicating for many years about the festival and doing things together, and we met in person at the WCIT conference in 2019. And he said, I want to bring Starness to Armenia. And I said, that's a fantastic idea. Let's do it. And then he called me and he's like, you encouraged me to bring Starness here. You have to come. I'm like, okay. So I'm coming. But what they've achieved with the festival is really amazing, bringing attention to astrophysics and different scientific discoveries. Together we worked on doing, honoring Karmajian. How do you? Kemurjian. The first Armenian scientist during the Soviet Union who was part of the Mars rover landing. He designed it, etc., which was a very proud moment. I did a musical composition for him for the event. And so I'm happy to see these type of festivals in Armenia. I'm happy to see amazing artists like yourselves, Mr. Wakeman and Simon and everyone coming here, Derek. I'm just happy to be part of this team. Thank you.
Thank you, Serge-chan. And Rick, please, a couple of words. You know Starness very well.
I know Starness very well. About 8 years ago, 10 years ago, something like that.
10 years.
Yeah, 10 years, well. Brian May called me and said, you need to come to the Starness Festival. And I said, where's that? And he said, it's held in different places. He said, this particular year it's in Tenerife. And he said, you have a great love of space and science. I've done a few albums involved with space. The Americans were foolish enough to send a lot of my music up in space, which is why there's never been any aliens landing here, because I've put them off. And I went down and I had the honour of meeting Professor Stephen Hawkins and many others, and I've met so many people thanks to Garrick. I have a fascination with science, and I think one of the things that's been certainly a mistake in England, in the UK for many years, is schooling. They separate arts and sciences, and they shouldn't, because they're incredibly connected, both inspirationally in both counts. As Sergio said, with the music that he's written for people, it is connected, and they shouldn't be separated. And I think it's really important. And one of the great things about Starness is it actually does bring the two together. And I'm very proud to have been a part of it, well, for the last 10 years. And hopefully will continue. And it's wonderful to be here in Armenia. Garrick has told me all about it. I've upset my wife because she wants to come for a holiday. So that will happen soon. But please give as much support as you can for arts and sciences. They are one. They are not separate. Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Garrick. Thanks.
Thank you very much, Rick. And Mr. Simon Phillips, please, a few words.
Hello. This is my first time in Armenia, and I'm a Starness virgin, as it were. It's the first go. This is, well, it's wonderful. Wonderful experience, always to come to a new country, one I haven't visited before. Derek and I have been working together on our project for the last 22 years. And we've never actually performed any of the music that we've recorded over, what, 9 albums or something? Yeah. So, and this was really, Garrick's invitation was kind of the catalyst to put together this band with Bumblefoot on guitar and Rick Fierrabracci on bass. And we went diligently into the rehearsal room, trying to rehearse this very tricky music. It's going to be a lot of fun to unleash this music into Armenia, onto the Armenian audience. We're looking forward to it. And as for astrophysicists, well, you see I'm wearing the 50-year anniversary of Apollo. I think only, actually, Rick and I probably remember the actual landing and watching it. My father used to, every night, he'd say, "You see that?" And I'd see this extra light in the sky. He said, "That's the Apollo command module on its way to the moon."
Yeah.
And I used to look at it and go, "Really?" And every day I go, "Is it there yet? Is it there yet?" You know, because I'm only 8 or 9 years old or whatever it was. He said, "No, it's going to take a little time. It's going to take a few days." And I'll never remember that moment on a black and white TV, black and white video, really bad, video,
well.
and watching Neil Armstrong make that first little jump onto the moon. And it was wonderful. And one of the things I find a bit weird is the younger generation, a lot of people don't believe it. They don't actually believe we went to the moon. And then when you talk about it, well, it wasn't just once. We had, I don't remember how many missions, up to Apollo 17. And they were driving around it on a little go-kart, all over the...
Yeah.
It was amazing. And I think it's a little bit of maybe education there that we need to pass on to our younger fellows and fellesses. Anyway, lovely to be here, and I hope you enjoy the shows.
Thanks, Simon. Yeah, that's why we will have a real moonwalker at Starness this time. Yes. Charlie Duke will be here. All right, so thank you very much. And one more thing I want to emphasize is all Starness concerts are one-offs. So we never repeat them. So you see the concert and you will never see that again. All right, so since 2011 we've done all our events were right with special concert, Rick Wakeman with Brian May and Tangerine Dream, and we had Hans Zimmer twice at Starness. Everything was one of. That's why my message is: if you lose this Starness, you're never going to see it again. It's not just about concerts, but also lectures. So I really encourage everyone to join the festival because we have mind-blowing lecturers from Tony Fadell, inventor of iPod and first iPhone, going to moonwalkers, the first Armenian astronaut, Jim Bagyan, Nobel laureates, Kip Thorne, Chris Hadfield. I don't know, it's really impossible to have this constellation of brilliant minds one place one time. So this just happens at Starness. So I really think that you should join the festival for 5 days, because 5 days is just nothing. It will be gone like this, but you will never, never, never see this again. So I finished this, and if you have questions, please. So all questions about science and arts. This is a science arts festival.
Hello, and I want to welcome, and we are extremely glad to see you all here. And my question is, do you have the favorite lecture that you will attend in the Starmus? What lecture is attendable for you? And the second question is, what scientific event is the most important for you for the last decade, maybe? And the third question is, we see this scientific mind is going high and high and higher, and on the other hand, we see on the ground, on the earth, war, and one is on the earth, war, and one was in Armenia, and one is now going on in Ukraine. And what do you think? Well, it's a lack of education that the science kind of support the political people to kill each other. What's the problem? What do you think artists can do to solve this problem? Thank you.
Yeah. Shall I answer this question? Yeah. Yeah. All right, so if anyone wants to add to what okay, so I go first. So last decade, the most important scientific, I don't know, there are lots of conferences, there are also science festivals, very interesting. I think your question was about the most important discovery, or the discovery for me as an astronomer was the discovery of gravitational waves. 100 years after Einstein, we finally discovered that there are the curvature of space, so we know how you can disturb this, and anyway, so let's leave aside gravitational waves and how we can change. Yeah, you are right. So there's a war, there's a lot of trouble. So how we can change this? I think if you have 1,000 Starness festivals in every country every 3 months, and so more you do festivals like this, and more you do science communication actually does. So it's all about education, I think. We don't spend much money on education. So every single country, you can say, yeah, there will 1% of budget for science, 2% is for this, but that's not enough. That's absolutely not enough. I mean, you cannot spend 10-15% on military building, nuclear weapons and all that stuff, and then you say, no, we increase the budget of education like 1%, that should be enough. That's completely wrong, you know. So if we try to reverse this, and now imagine the world where you spend as much money on education as you spend on wars. What's going to do with a planet like this? Yeah. Just imagine that planet.
I can't mention his name, but a very well-known astronaut. I spoke to him some years ago, and he said that one of the things he'd like to do would be to take all the world leaders. Yeah, he said that he'd like to take all the world leaders up on a mission and look back down on Earth and say, that's our planet and you're ruining it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. are just incredible, and it almost feels like you're there and could take them. It won't happen because I'm too old, but one of my dreams was to do a concert on Mars. I don't think we get many people there, but that would be a dream for me. I just find all the things that we're discovering all the time absolutely fascinating.
Yeah, one little mention of, as you mentioned, the wars that are going on here. During World War II, Winston Churchill was running the conflict from England. He was asked by his Minister for Arts and Science, the budget. He said, listen, can we reduce or actually stop the budget for entertainment, arts and sciences? And Churchill's answer was, what are we fighting for?
Yeah.
Simply, quite simply.
Yeah.
I think it was a lovely little statement.
Sums it up.
Yeah.
If I may add one more thing, during Soviet Armenia's time, I think we had a really great science and arts program. I think we still have an amazing cultural arts program, music in Armenia, but we've left the science behind. In 2015, I was doing a media event such as this one, and at the end, I met in person with a scientist who came and basically broke down, how we've suffered scientifically since independence, and it truly brought me to tears because it was a very powerful, emotional, and understanding type of thing. Science will help us in many regards moving forward as a nation, including defense, of course. So I think it's very important to have this festival and others like this.
Thank you. We are trying to connect with Tigran Hamasyan because he's not in Armenia. And is he online? Not yet. Yeah, well, let me check. Where is Tigran? Okay, while we are waiting for Tigran, if you have one more question maybe, yeah.
My question is more simple, and I just heard how we were talking about the connection between music and science, and in some cases I guess that music is also some kind of science because you have to know many things to create nice, good music. How the music, I would like to talk about certain examples from your life, when and how did it happen that the science changed the style of music, maybe the life of, I don't know, creating the music style.
Yeah, I think I'm not a musician, but I can answer for musicians. Yes, I think we can talk about this. But the musical instrument is a science, right? So musical instrument is a science. And then from the first percussions, that's already science. And now we get to the age of synthesizers, which is really top science, electronics, right? We moved from analog synthesizers to digital, and now we're moving to AI, which is now questionable. What the hell is this? It's AI doing music. But anyway, we are right at a very interesting moment. It's a super interesting moment in this the cross-section and this fusion of really high-level science, really complicated science, and fusing with an artistic mind and what the creation process is. I think we have never seen this before in the last, especially now. Now is really, so I think we would need even lectures on this topic, someone really lecturing about what is happening with music, this transition between music and technology. So one of the pioneers in this was Brian Eno, the famous musician who was also a Starness lecturer. He gave actually keynote speech at Starness 3 dedicated to Stephen Hawking. So Stephen himself, so when I presented who will give a keynote talk, and he wanted someone to be between music and science, and so Brian Eno was number one in the list. So he gave a talk about the cross-section between science and music. And I wish he was here in Armenia. He promised actually to come, maybe not this year, next year he will definitely come to Armenia, but to give a talk especially about this fusion of science and music. And of course there is inspirational component. Musicians are very inspired by astronomy, so this is very nice and so on, but there's also very real science in music, and in general in arts. Let me tell you just one small example. I published a very interesting paper back in 2001 about collision of a planet with a star. So I discovered the first evidence that the planets can fall to stars. So that was published in Nature, in a very famous top magazine. So and it was on BBC, CNN, everywhere, covered by, because Nature is a kind of a magazine. So they put me in touch with an artist, with a painter, to paint this discovery for media. So I had an interaction for about 2 weeks with someone who is designer and who is doing this space art. And his questions were really scientific. I mean, what do you see? Which colors? How it happens? What is actually happening when the planet falls into the star? And I've never seen this interesting interaction between a scientist, that was my discovery, and the painter was trying to do something which is real. But we ended up with a situation when I said, look, that's 80% is science, but I leave 20% with you to do this something very impressive, to impress people. I don't care about really those points to be scientific, but that has to be creative. So, but I've seen this. I've seen this interaction between me and someone who wanted to make to paint this, you know. So, and I know this is happening every day now, with those who bring science to society, with painters, with astrophotography, with music, so everywhere. That's why the whole idea, and sci-fi writers and films and everything. So it's massive. So. I don't know if Tigran is online or not. Yes. All right, so we have Tigran Hamasyan joining us. Yeah, there we have it.
Yeah.
Yeah, Tigran.
I can't hear anybody. I'm sorry.
We hear you.
You sound marvelous.
Now I can.
Like that, yeah.
Hello.
Talk to him. I'm sure he's
Hello.
Yes.
All right. Okay. So we hear you, Tigran.
Okay. Yeah. Then I can hear.
So, please, we're talking about how important it is how important it is to bring art to science, so the artists and musicians will support science and education. What is your opinion?
Well, I think science and music has been always linked together, and for me especially, I mean, music I play is very much inspired by numbers and rhythms that complex rhythmic structures that for me really relates to science and math but in general I'm personally inspired by many other things other than music, obviously, other forms of arts, but also the different science. Astrology is one of them, and also math and geometry. So it's all interconnected. So I think it's really great initiative to bring together art and science.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, I know that you did ambient music too. So there is the serious component of science when you make ambient music. You work with synthesizers, right?
Yeah, I'm correct.
So there is a serious scientific component in ambient music.
Right.
And you work with synthesizers, not just piano, right?
Yeah, ambient music, I mean, I'm not, it's only part of what I do, electronica and ambient electronica, but maybe part of the reason it's connects to science is also because of the sounds of the space that we already have, and we know how we can say define that sound, and that could be an inspiration for creating pieces, ambient pieces.
Okay. So thank you very much, Tigran, and we hope to see you very soon in Armenia. We have your concert on the 4th. You are opening Starness.
Great. Can't wait. Thank you for having me.
Thank you very much, Tigran. Thank you.
Bye.
Okay, so I think we are done. No more questions, and just one more question. All right.
Hi. A couple questions, actually. My biggest question would be, why Armenia? How did you sort of come to choose Armenia to be the host of this year's Starness when it could be anywhere else in the world? So why Armenia and why now? And my second question, and Serge, you talked about this a little bit, but what does it mean for Armenia that we're hosting this huge science and arts festival this year? I mean, I know Armenia in the past, during Soviet times, was a huge center for science. I'm thinking especially about places like Burikan, but sort of fell off after the collapse. And with this festival, I feel it's a good sign that science is kind of coming back. I just wonder if you can talk a little bit more about what it means for the country, the development of the country, that type of thing.
Well, I can answer the first question about why Armenia. So I was in 2019 with Starness 5. We invited the former president of Armenia, Armen Sarkisyan, to the opening ceremony, and he was very impressed. So he invited Starness actually to come to Armenia, and there was a discussion in our advisory board, and then I was in Armenia to meet the government, to the prime minister, to the former ministers of education and technology, and the message was so positive. Both the government and the president of Armenia, they were really with both hands voting that we should do this in Armenia. It's very important, and then of course then there was a war and then COVID and so on. But then after that we decided that it's now even much more important to do this in Armenia, because there were some ideas that it's not a good moment and we have to stop it. because of different, difficulties in Armenia, and especially then the war in Ukraine was there. But then again, I mean, we said it's probably even much more important to do the festival now, and then we have to do it. So that's the story of Starness in Armenia, and Serge for the.
To further kind of, yes, Armenia was a center of science during Soviet times, and it's trailed off. We have a big tech boom, and I think science is, tech is science as well. I mean, and other sciences basically growing at the same time as tech, I think is very important for the country. Education, science, tech go hand in hand. And, the way we were talking about music and science, and I just started thinking about it as Garik and Dikran were talking about it. And, we're trying to discover the world that we live in. You can discover it from the arts through a right brain interaction, or you can discover it through science and a left brain interaction, and they're all it's all part of the same brain, left and right neurons firing. It's very important for us, small nations, landlocked nations, nations without deep natural resources. It's the science, technology, education that get us through. And any festival that brings amazing artists from all over the world, amazing attention from all over the world, is very important for us, especially right now.
Վերնագիրը անունը փառատոնի մեջ պարունակում է star բառը։ Արդյոք միգուցե կա արդեն երկնքում աստղ Starness։ Եթե չէ միգուցե կլինի։
Չգիտեմ, աստղ չէ, բայց աստերոիդ հաստատ կլինի շուտով։ Ինձ թվում է աստերոիդներից մեկը Starness-ի անունով կանվանեն, կամ միգուցե ինչ որ խառնարան Մարսի կամ ինչ որտեղ, որտեղ խառնարաններին միշտ անունները չի դնում, նոր խառնարաններ որ գտնում են։ Ես վստահ եմ, որ շուտով Starness-ի անունով կդնեն ինչ-որ մի հատ տենց մեծ բան։ Արդեն եղել են տենց առաջարկներ, ու քննարկվում են, ստումա շուտով կորոշենք մի հատ տենց մեծ բան դնել Starness-ի անունով։ Չմոռանանք, որ աշխարհում ամենակարևոր բանը մեդալը կամ ընդհանրապես որ տալիս են, դա նույնպես Starness-ի ստեղծածն է, Stephen Hawking-ի մեդալը, դա շատ մեծ բան է, որը տրվում է այն մարդկանց, ովքեր գիտությունը բերում են դեպի հասարակություն, որոնք այդ բանը անջրպետը գիտության հասարակության միջև կարողանում են լցնել։ Այդ մարդկանց մենք տալիս ենք Stephen Hawking-ի մեդալ, որոնք մինչև այսօր քանի երաժիշտներ են ստացել, հենց Hans Zimmer-ը առաջինն էր ստացել այդ մեդալը, հետո Brian Eno, Jean-Michel Jarre, երաժիշտներ, որոնք շատ բան են արել, որպեսզի մարդիկ ոգեշնչվեն գիտությամբ, շատ են արել, որպեսզի իրենց երաժշտությունը միշտ դրվել է այնպիսի ֆիլմերում, որոնք մեծ գիտություն են իրենց մեջ բան արել, ու դրա համար այդ մարդիկ ստանում են այդ մեդալը, ու նաև ոչ միայն երաժիշտներ, գիտեք, մենք վերջի մեդալը Elon Musk-ին տվեցինք միայն այն բանի համար, որ ինքը իրենց սոցիալական ցանցերում միլիոնավոր երիտասարդների ոգեշնչում է գիտությամբ տեխնոլոգիաներով զբաղվել։ Գիտենք այդ թվերը մենք վիճակագրությունից ունենք, քանի միլիոն երիտասարդներ են գրում դեպի գիտություն տեխնոլոգիա միայն Musk-ի սոցիալական ցանցի շնորհիվ, շատ մեծ բաներ որ արվում է, ու դրա համար իրենց տալիս ենք այդ Stephen Hawking-ի մեդալը։ Այս տարի երկուշաբթի օրը կիմանաք դեռ գաղտնիք է, թե ովքեր են ստանալու մեդալը, բայց երկուշաբթի կհայտարարվեն հաղթողները Stephen Hawking-ի մեդալը հենց բեմի վրա։
I have a question for musicians, and do you have plans to use AI in your works in the future, or maybe you are already using some AI? Artificial intelligence.
That's me.
Do we have any plans to use AI in our music? Is that the question? No. I want to use real intelligence. Sorry, I don't mean to. It's a nice experiment. I mean, I think for a pure scientific experiment, it's interesting to see what a non-human will come up with. But, you know, music is based on emotions. And we have still yet to write emotion into AI. As far as I know, most AI is basically programmed.
Yeah.
I don't think there's much AI yet that's really self-thinking, is it? I mean,
not for the moment. They're
no.
trying
From
to
what
program emotions now.
Yeah. And it's probably just as well because, you know, if you suddenly, I mean, I have a robot in my house. I call him Sprat. And he's one of these things that crawls along the floor and does the hoovering. He's always sending me messages. You know, Sprat is stuck on the edge of a cliff. That's not very smart AI, is it? Because that's not a cliff. It just happens to be a step. You know, Sprat needs your help. I mean, really, they're still so reliant on us. I mean, hey, it's wonderful. And I love it. I'm kind of, oh yeah, Sprat's up. Better go and switch the coffee machine on. I go downstairs and he's like, and I often put little obstacles in the way just to see how smart he is, you know. That's kind of a little game I have with my AI friend in the morning. Well, we've watched a lot of science fiction movies, haven't we? You know, Robbie the robot that goes AWOL, you know. And, of course, the best robot of all time on picture is Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, Marvin, the depressed robot, brain the size of a planet. I mean, a depressed robot, I mean, that's kind of a problem. You're going to have to give him, you know, kind of synthetic Prozac or something, you know, program it in. I don't know. I mean, the thing about music and art, it is a human invention. It's a human emotion. And what I think is most fascinating, apart from playing, especially with jazz, when there's a lot of improvisation, but I think one of the most amazing things is the creation music, the composition. Where does it come from?
Exactly. That's exactly right, which AI doesn't have.
No. You start in the morning,
you can't.
And there's a blank sheet, and there's nothing happening.
Yeah.
And yet, 5 o'clock in the afternoon, hopefully, you've got a whole song. I mean, that's still.
We have a lecture by a Nobel laureate neuroscientist, Edward Moser, just before Tigran's concert. It's called Brain and Music.
Ooh. And it's the same for writers, too.
Exactly. I mean, so it's quite unique. You know, this is very much in Starness style to put a lecture on brain and music and then follow with the jazz concert.
That's beautiful.
I mean, it's important to know that there's really two sorts of composition. I mean, with the experience that everybody has here musically, you could write a piece of music now, but it would be based on your knowledge of music, which is almost the equivalent of your own personal AI. Whereas inspiration, when something really comes, you've got no idea where that comes from.
Yeah.
So there's a distinct between those two.
Yeah. It's like when, I don't know if it's the same for all of us, you start writing a piece of music, and the first half an hour, that piece of music just didn't go anywhere. Yeah. And suddenly you stumble on something else which was totally different from what you had aimed for. Yeah. I mean, Derek and I, we do this all the time. We have a wonderful writing relationship, and it's happened for 20 years, and we have no idea what we're going to start with. He comes up, well, I've got this thing. Yeah. And I go, how about, and you know, 4 hours later, we've got this, you know, funny piece of music that, you know, and we love it, and it's beautiful, isn't it? And that's not AI, that's RI, you know, or HR, human intelligence, whatever it is.
Yeah.
And honestly, science, to elaborate what you said, I don't want to understand science behind the divine creation. I just want it to kind of happen. I don't need to know why, how does this inspiration come and why does this work or whatever. There's an organic process that I think needs to be honored.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
One more question. In your opinion, what steps Armenia need to take to develop science to get Nobel Prizes, for example, in sphere astrophysics?
Yeah, I think it's just paying more attention into education. You start with schools, basically with schools, and put a lot of science communication. We need, media has a lot to do. So media has to pay more attention to education, science, and culture than to politics, really. I mean, that's my opinion. For the moment, it's 99.99999 politics. There's 1%, less than 1% is left for the rest. And the rest is everything else. You know, I think it would be interesting to have 50-50 maybe. That would be even more reasonable, but not 99 and 1%, you know. So that's media has to go. Media and scientists, they have to communicate what they are doing. They are responsible. So a lot of scientists, they just don't care about bringing their science to society. They go to their office and they write down something, they publish a paper, and they forget. So that's wrong. But of course, the government, it's very important that government realizes that they have to pay special attention to how to activate these cells, how to activate these neurons, to bring science to society with TV programs, and lots of things can be done. I can advise. I mean, if someone needs my advice, I can make a very interesting scheme how to activate science communication in a country like Armenia. I can put the roadmap and how to start and how to go and all the steps. I can do it. Thank you very much. Thank you. Goodbye.
Should be